Hello there. Welcome again to VLGA Connect. Good to have you with us for our weekly program looking at topics of interest across the local government sector in Victoria, sponsored by Hunt and Hunt Lawyers. And a great show for you today. I'm going to spend some time very shortly with the Mayor of Casey City Council, Councillor Stefan Koomen. He'll share his reflections on leading the new council in its first term since a long period of administration, and how the long-running Operation Sandon investigation has impacted the new councillor group. Also today, a Metro Melbourne Circular Economy first. Sarah Furnell, the Circular Economy Officer at Brimbank City Council, will tell us about an exciting new project, repurposing soft plastics for road-making materials. It's all ahead, but of course we start with the Connect News headlines. The Board of Inquiry into the Macrae landslide on the Mornington Peninsula has submitted its final report this week. The landslide in January this year destroyed one house, damaged three others, and a Mornington Peninsula Shire Council officer was seriously injured. The inquiry was established in March, commenced public hearings in May, and was required to provide its final report by this week, a deadline that was extended in June. It announced on Tuesday that it had completed the report, which is now with the government. Premier Jacinda Allen has unveiled plans for 25 new high-density precincts around train and tram hubs. The draft plans will allow buildings up to 16 stories tall in suburbs like Oakleigh, Kew and Hawthorn. But the Age reported that some local councils, including Stonington and Boroondara, have expressed frustration at what they call inadequate consultation. Horsham Rural City Council has appointed Councillor Brian Klaus as acting mayor as incumbent Mayor Ian Ross deals with health issues. The appointment was made during an additional council meeting last week. Councillor Klaus will step in for Councillor Ross when he is unavailable. Cardinia Shire Council has appointed James Collins as its new CEO for a 5-year term following an extensive recruitment process. Mr Collins brings over 15 years of executive experience, including from his current role as Director of City Planning and Infrastructure at the City of Casey. He's also worked at Monash, Yarra Ranges and Banyule councils. Former City of Melbourne and Greater Dandenong Council Director Katrina McKenzie has been appointed as the new Commissioner of Economic Growth Victoria and Better Regulation Victoria. Casey City Council is urging the government to address growing graffiti vandalism on state-owned infrastructure, offering to manage removal if proper funding is provided. The council's comprehensive graffiti management program handles over 50,000 square metres of graffiti annually, but state contracts allow only removal near rail platforms, leaving many visible areas untouched and undermining local clean-up efforts. And Whitehorse City Council has reversed a 2023 decision to explore external management options for Aqualink facilities, instead confirming its commitment to in-house management. It says the reversal is due to substantial operational improvements made over the past 2 years. Those are the latest Connect News headlines. You can keep up to date with more news from across the state and from around the country on the Local Government News Roundup, brought to you by the VLGA. Comes your way as a podcast every Monday, Wednesday and Friday. My next guest on the program is the Mayor of Casey City Council, Councillor Stefan Koomen, first-time visitor to the show. Lovely to meet you, Stefan.
Likewise. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Thank you very much. Congratulations on A, your election to council after a pretty interesting time there in Casey, and B, your elevation as mayor. How's the experience been for you?
Yeah, look, it's been good. It's been eventful, one might say, but yeah, as you mentioned, we're a new council. We're now about 10 months in, but we all got elected as a new group last November, having been in administration for 5 years. So yeah, good to have councillors back at the helm, and yeah, we're enjoying our first term.
Is it fair to describe it as a baptism of fire?
It is. That's the term I have used, Chris.
Yeah.
It's certainly been a bumpy start, you might say. We had, many might have seen in the sector, we had our first real public meeting at the start of this year, which was attended by hundreds of local residents, and they brought their concerns, some historical matters. So yeah, it's been a baptism of fire, but I think we've worked effectively through some of the historical issues that we've inherited, and I think we're getting past those, and then now looking forward to how we can shape our city.
Yeah, you're mainly referring, I think, to that local law issue which you've recently dealt with. Are those waters all calm now? Are people happy with the end point that you've arrived at?
Yeah, look, we're hearing good things. So on the back of that February meeting, we went out for a full consultation and full review of our local law. It was changed previously in December 2023, well before us, but a lot of community concern. So we've done that. We held 12 pop-ups across the city, over 1,000 contributions from residents. So a really strong uptake, which showed the interest in the issues. And from that, we passed a draft set of law changes for exhibition, which is currently out. So we're waiting for that feedback with a view to formalising the changes towards the end of the year.
At what point did you become aware that this was going to be such a huge issue? Was it when they turned up at the meeting, or did you have a sense that it was building into something pretty significant?
Yeah, look, it was at the start of the year, so the turn of the new year. Some issues were raised by a couple of residents, and it really did catch hold online mostly, which then drew a lot of attention. And we did get a sense that first meeting in February, there was concerns, but I think the level of concern and the attendance did surprise us somewhat. We were taken aback, but we got on with the job. We got through that meeting and then immediately called for the review and then worked through it, in the right way rather than a reactionary kind of, piecemeal change. We said we'll do the whole law, and people have appreciated that, I think.
And was there ever a time where you thought, why me? Why did this have to happen when I'm in my mayoral role for the first time? What have I gotten myself into?
Yeah, there certainly was an element of that. But look, I knew taking on the mayoral role that this year was going to be one of transition and with challenges. I don't think any of us knew what would be thrown at us, but we knew there'd be some bumps on the road. But I'm glad I'm in the role, and I think as a group we've really bound together and dealt with it effectively.
How have you managed to navigate that from a personal point of view? Where have you drawn your advice and strength from?
Yeah, look, probably two parts. I've got a great network around me personally, people who've supported me, but we've also had a supportive a group of officers. They've worked with us. We've raised concerns, and we've tried to keep the organisation on the same track. So I think it's a credit to all involved that we got to where we are now. And yeah, lots of meetings, lots of discussions, but
Yeah.
yeah, we worked through it together.
So that issue and Operation Sandon, which I'll touch on shortly, have sort of overshadowed everything else you're trying to do in your first term as a newly elected council. What are the other priority areas that you're trying to get some traction on, and how you're travelling in that regard?
Yeah, so coming out of Operation Sandon, out of administration, our focus has been on probably two parts: is really good governance and transparency. We know that that's a priority for residents. We heard that in all of our councillor campaigns, that the trust levels were not where they should be. So that's been a strong focus for us. And I think the other part is just reconnecting with community. And I think we can't understate the impact that having no councillors over a 5-year period has had on our community. Just no voice, no outlet, and that's where that pent up, I guess, concern and energy came from in that first meeting, was that there was no democratic way for people to engage, and we're now here, and I think that's been well received. But reconnecting, getting out to events, telling people that there are residents representing them in decision making now, that's been a huge focus for us. Then at the broader, I guess, infrastructure and service level, where we're really focused as a growth council on trying to get the infrastructure right, work with the state and the federal governments to get things in place to deal with the rapidly growing population that we've got here in the southeast.
I guess that ability to draw a line between the period of administration and the return to elected representation is a double-edged sword, isn't it? At some point, that's going to have to be consigned to history, isn't it? And you need to own what happens going forward.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think we're now at that stage. Look, there's probably 3 or 4 historical issues which the community know we're working through. But we did pass our first budget. We put, a real stamp of a new council on that, with some focuses around greening the city, around upgrading facilities, improving maternal child health. So we have been able to, I guess, mould some of the work that we're doing, but that's an ongoing thing. And I think our next budget, we're really looking to really put that local lens on it ourselves now. Yeah.
We touched on Operation Sandon. As we record this, there's some charges finally been laid out of that 7-year investigation. I know you can't comment, and I wouldn't expect you to comment on any of the specifics of that. But I am interested, given how long it's been going and that it's still there and there's still more to play out, what sort of impact or effect does that have on you and your group of councillors as you try to move forward from the issues of the past?
Yeah, look, it is there. It's a bit of a spectre kind of hanging over us, but I think for us as a new group, it's about separating us from those historical issues that, obviously police and the courts are working through, and showing that we've turned over a new leaf. Like, these are historical matters. And for us, it's just a firm focus on, again, rebuilding trust, reconnecting, and showing through practice the right behaviours. And that comes from everything from planning decisions that we make to the way that we engage with all of parts of our community.
Stefan, what's your background? What brought you to local government?
Yeah, so I've always been involved in the community. I'm really passionate about place-based local action. I ran and was part of a few local campaigns around swimming pools and community spaces, and I thought I'd put my hat in the ring. And I think that's the beauty of our new councillor group, is a lot of us, we just came into it as residents, and we bonded really well around that idea of bringing back community. So just put my hand up and thought I'd have a go, and lo and behold, I was a councillor, and then after 1 week a mayor, and coming towards the end of this first year now.
Yeah, I've always felt that local government is so complex and broad that it's a real challenge to prepare new councillors for the role. And I wonder, given that you've got nearly a year under your belt, how has the reality of the role matched the expectation that you had coming in?
Yeah, this is something we discuss as a councillor group actually quite a bit at the moment. I don't think any of us really knew what we were in for. And you can do the training, you do the the modules prior to running for a candidate, but coming in, I think the level of involvement that you have in the organisation, and the commitments that you need to make, I think has surprised a few of us. But we've all adapted, and we're meeting a few times a week often, to skill ourselves up, but then also to do the work that we need to do for future planning. So the workload's been significant, but it's been really rewarding as well. I think it's not probably what we expected, but we're all enjoying it, and working together well as a group.
So as your term comes towards the end, November, I think, do you have any expectations of continuing? Will you be putting your hand up again for mayor?
Yeah, look, it's certainly something I'm looking at. I think this year's been one of transition, and having some continuity with what we've all learned and worked through, I think could benefit the group. But ultimately, that's a decision for the councillors, and we'll work through that as we head to November, as that decision's made.
Yeah. Well, I want to wish you all the best with all of that work that you're doing, and thank you so much for giving us some of your time here today on VLGA Connect.
Thanks, Chris. Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
That's Councillor Stefan Koomen, the Mayor of Casey City Council. My next guest on VLGA Connect is the Circular Economy Officer at the City of Brimbank, Sarah Furnell. Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Really excited to be here. Thanks so much for having us.
Lovely to have you here. We wanted to check in with you and find out about this very exciting soft plastics program that you've announced at Brimbank recently, where people can bring in their soft plastics and polystyrene, I think, and it's going to end up in the roads that they're travelling on in Brimbank. And this is a bit of a first, I understand.
Yes, you are correct. It's a Melbourne Metro first, and I'll just come off the bat and say the soft plastics and the polystyrene, two separate material streams with two separate ends use.
Right.
So
Okay.
for the purpose of the initiative, where we're talking about the soft plastics, and we're working with a recycler called Close the Loop, who's based in the Reservoir, and this is a circular contract in where we do a ton for ton exchange. So for every ton of soft plastics materials that we supply to Close the Loop, we are then required to then buy back the converted material in the same tonnage. And so that material, obviously made of soft plastics, but also toner cartridges, is converted into an asphalt additive called Tonoplast that is then worked into our roads work within council.
Right. Okay. So tell us a bit about the process that went into setting this up, because this involves quite a few departments of council, obviously, particularly your engineering area and infrastructure works and all of that. I imagine it's taken a bit of time to pull all this together.
Yeah, it was definitely a massive collaborative effort, both like within the council, but also with like industry partners and bodies. So we were really fortunate to have a curious engineering team and a really kind of impassioned person within our climate emergency team that I guess kind of encouraged and spearheaded a tour that Sustainability Victoria hosted through their circular showcase. They open the doors or kind of make arrangements with different recyclers across Victoria to come and allow councils to tour the facilities, learn more about this. And that's what we did a couple of years ago with Close the Loop. Our team went out, was inspired by what they saw, and then that's where the partnership, that's where the seeds were planted. Fast forward a couple of years, and then we're here where we are today, kind of launching the complete initiative. But that's where things started. And so conversations from there grew within our engineering team, stress testing, asking lots of questions. And then we started this initiative by applying Tonoplast to 3 roads within the municipality. And then from there, I joined shortly after these applications. And then we looked at the second component of this circular contract, which is then collecting the materials from our residents.
So the Tonoplast material, I have heard the term before, so it's obviously being used in other jurisdictions, but not in metropolitan Melbourne until this particular example. Is that right? Or is it the soft plastics part of it that is what's new and different?
That is correct. Yeah, it is being used across a few other municipalities, Hume, just to think of one off the top of my head. But we're the first in Metro Melbourne that actually has taken the complete contract, in that we're taking the waste and we're buying it back. And that is the true definition of a circular economy. And that, we're not just recycling the material, we're buying it back.
So you say it's first for Metro Melbourne. Where else has this been happening? Have you been able to go and see it in action somewhere else?
Well, I haven't seen it in person, but I must give hats off to our regional, players. Bendigo was the first to roll out the initiative. I believe it was last year that they kicked things off, and they're a much larger municipality than us. And so the proof is in the pudding that I think it doesn't matter the scale of the municipality, it can be achievable. And so they're recycling now approximately 2 to 3 tons per month with Close the Loop, which is a fantastic kind of effort.
Yeah. And when you say larger, I assume you mean in terms of the road network and the amount of work that they have to do.
Well, both. I guess it is both. In that, they've got a larger, resident population. But then, yes, they probably would have more roads than also that requiring, maintenance, resurfacing.
Yes. Yes. So have you had has the phone been ringing or the emails been pinging about this since you've announced it?
Yeah, there's been a lot of inquiry, a lot of interest from other councils, which is fantastic to see, the engagement and the interest from people wanting to explore how else we can kind of integrate recycled materials into the municipality, and also diverting a very ubiquitous material out of our waste streams. You can't really recycle this within our curbside infrastructure. So this is a great way to take it out of curbside and get it back into the community.
Yeah, it's a wicked problem, isn't it, everywhere with soft plastics in particular. I noticed in the announcement when you made that you did also talk about the polystyrene. So your residents can recycle the soft plastics and now polystyrene free of charge. What happens to the polystyrene?
The polystyrene goes to another recycler also within Victoria, and that gets converted into insulation base and material as well. So then, like, again, polystyrene also is a really highly kind of dumped material. So that was something that we were really kind of keen to tackle with our illegal dumping initiatives. So having those two material streams being offered for free was a great service that we could offer our residents to reduce littering and dumping.
Yeah. Look, these are big ticks on your key performance improvement list for the year, I reckon, Sarah. What else is coming down the chute in terms of some real circular economy improvements?
I think probably the one that we're all really excited about is our 4-bin rollout. We're in early stages of this now, but it's definitely got a lot of people interested and engaged, and we're keen to kind of connect with the community and learn more from them. But there's a lot of opportunities with that 4-bin rollout. Obviously, I'm talking about our green bin, which is food and garden organics, or FOGO, and purple bin, which is glass. How we kind of, the combination in which we roll these out is yet to be determined, but these represent really big, opportunities in terms of circular solutions.
Yeah, it's an exciting space and you're doing some great work. Thank you so much for coming on to tell us about particularly the soft plastics and how it's going to end up in the roads that people are travelling on in the city of Brimbank.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much, Chris.
Sarah Furnell, the Circular Economy Officer at Brimbank City Council, joining me today. Some interesting discussions, I'm sure you'll agree, on today's program. Lots more lined up for you in the weeks ahead. And as soon as that landslide inquiry report drops, we'll hopefully have Tony Brownick back on the show to dissect the recommendations and findings there. Now, before we leave you, a quick reminder that the VLGA's annual councillor census is back for its second year. All councillors will receive an email in October, early October, and you'll have until the end of the month to complete it. The census captures and tracks councillor demographics, attitudes and key challenges to local governance over time. And we'll tell you more about that census and what it's trying to achieve on an upcoming edition of VLGA Connect. But for now, be aware it's coming to all councillors in the first week of October. That's our show for this week. Thank you for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or on your podcast player. And we'll be back with more VLGA Connect, sponsored by Hunt & Hunt Lawyers, next week. Bye for now.